And of course, he was not affiliated with anything either. And here's where things get interesting. On May 14th, 2008, the guys in the wrong car were arrested. This was Larry Valencia, Cole Amazar, and Luis Hernandez. They raided each person's home and found blue bandanas and VFL posters. This was enough to charge them for the February 16th incident. They had nothing to do with the incident whatsoever, so for them doing life in prison was not an option. Larry Valencia would testify against his friends in the other car. Next, Cole Amazar would testify as well, telling police the exact same story. And this got Hector Molina, Jorge Camacho, and Jose Mota arrested. But this was obviously months after the incident took place, so in the meantime, the madness would continue. On February 27th, the same trio would run into rivals on San Pablo Avenue. During this confrontation, they accidentally claimed the life of Lisa Taller. In this case, Mota and Molina were found not guilty, but Jorge Camacho was found responsible. And that takes us to April 26, 2008. Three VFL members, including Jose Mota, drive around San Pablo looking for rivals yet again. And on the corner of Broadway and 15th, they spot a man in a red bandana. So VFL's Javier Gomez gets out of the car and walks up to him. He says, "Are you a buster?" The man responds, "What does that mean?" And this response does not please Javier, so he makes a wild decision. It turns out that Rico, in fact, was not a member of anything. His family said that he wouldn't have even known what a red bandana could signify. Well, long story short, Gomez felt guilty and confessed about what he did. And with this, he implicated Mota as the driver. So they both received life in prison. In the end, nearly every VFL member told on their co-defendants. And because of this, all of these incidents were solved. These stories were all over the Bay Area news, sending fear to everyone at home. And this prompted middle and high schools all over the Bay Area to ban the colors red and blue. This is also because other regions like the Canal San Rafael and East San Jose were seeing the same issues. It was an awful new trend that the Bay Area was not ready for. Okay, let's head back to Richmond. Despite not being affected by any of these incidents, the San Pablo Nortes wanted to send a message of their own. So 2009 would be a wild year back and forth between both sides. And unfortunately, this brought crime numbers similar to the 1990s. In 2009, there were 47 homicides in Richmond. That doesn't even include San Pablo. This number gave Richmond a rate of 46 per 100,000. For clarification, that was 3 times higher than Atlanta and double the rate of Oakland. So yes, at this time, Richmond was by far the worst city in Northern California. And this prompted
other shit going on though.
In 2011, the city voted to demolish the North Richmond housing projects with no plans of rebuilding. Instead, the residents were given housing vouchers to live elsewhere in the county. They also did this with other projects throughout the city. By the end of 2011, Richmond was a whole new place. Thousands of residents were displaced, and this meant rivalry spread out to other cities. Many members were now living elsewhere, but they remained as active as they once were. And that takes us to 2011. By the year 2011, a Richmond rapper named Lil G the Great began blowing up on YouTube. He repped his section hard despite being a Pinole resident. Lil G was from a Northsider area, specifically 17th and Sanford and San Pablo. However, many of his friends were VFLs from North Richmond. So for this reason, Lil G never chose a side and represented Richmond as a whole. This would seem like the safest route for anyone. However, playing neutral has its downsides as well. In early 2012, Lil G began working with rappers from Central Richmond, also known as the
Hood, man. That's the DC, man.
North and Central Richmond had become bitter rivals. So being that
we don't
Lil
fuck
G
around.
began rapping with Central rappers, his VFL friends were not happy. But instead of confronting him like a man about it, they did something way worse. After a week or so of arguing with Lil G, VFL decides to make amends. At least that's what he thought. So on February 21st, 2012, they invite him to hang out in North Richmond. His girlfriend begs him to lay low, telling him that his VFL friends are not trustworthy. But Lil G tells her that they've been friends forever and that they would never set him up. So he heads to Shields Park in North Richmond to meet up. When he arrives, the VFL members are standing in a line. Lil G is confused, so he goes to dap them up. But that's when they raise their hands for a different reason. The moral of the story is that sometimes your girlfriend is the realest one on your team. Well, the sad story led Richmond police on a VFL investigation. They were the wildest guys the Bay
Some
Area had
more
ever seen,
snitching.
but for now there was no evidence. The case
Cold
would remain
crabs,
open
man.
for a few years. In the meantime, VFL was unstoppable. The only thing that could possibly stop them was themselves. Later in 2012, a VFL member named Luis Hernandez was arrested for DPing a fellow member. Apparently, the member had given up information on cases from 2008. Interestingly enough, after being arrested, Luis became an informant himself. In 2015, Luis told investigators who claimed the life of Lil G. Why he did this? Well, they gave him $68,000. As a result, 4 VFL members were given life.
68
and Luis
racks.
Hernandez was sent to another state under a new alias.
Cold snitch.
Today, Richmond is nothing like it once was. The crime levels have plummeted lower than ever before, and that's
Okay.
something to be proud of. Regardless, the Southsiders are still active and feared throughout the Bay Area. There are documented
But I'm
stories
from out
of the
there, man. I'm
Southsider
from out there,
takeover
man.
all over
I don't
the
know
day.
about
Well, on that note, I hope you
all
guys
that
enjoyed
shit.
the
I know
video.
some other
Make
shit
sure to
going
leave a
on,
like and
but
subscribe.
rest peace, Lil G, man. You know, like the video, hit the subscribe. Coming back with a little something else. Gone.